my own personal opinion is that the Board of Education should have nothing to do with the selection of the independent attorney and the independent forensic auditor. At the heart of Dennis Clay's allegations is an accusation of wrongdoing, either knowingly or negligently mismanaging the bond program. He directed those accusations toward 2 of the staff members from the district. And the Board of Education directly oversees those 2 staff members. The Board of Education, need I remind you, is a highly politicized arena. I want to get to the bottom of Dennis Clay's allegations. I want to investigate it. And the best way to do that is to have a truly independent auditor, a truly independent forensic auditor, and an independent attorney to vet these documents and to get to the bottom of this so that way we can keep the public's faith in the school district's bond program. The only way to do that, to avoid the appearance of impropriety, is to have the CBOC select the forensic auditor and to select the attorney. That's what my personal opinion is. For instance, if a defendant was accused of a crime, a defendant is not allowed to choose his own prosecutor or her own prosecutor. A defendant is not allowed to choose his own judge or her own judge. And a defendant would not be allowed to choose his or her own jury, the individual members. But yet that's exactly what I think we're allowing the Board of Education to do. So with that in mind, I entered into the committee and stated this is what my opinion is. And from that, we worked out a compromise. I'm not happy with this compromise, but I think it's the best that we can do going forward, which is to complement the Board of Education's effort and to have a seat at the table. So that way we can ensure that the forensic auditor and the attorney are actually independent. Because whatever they produce at the end of the day, at the end of this investigation, should not be questioned. Their qualifications should not be questioned. Their motivations should not be questioned. That's the reason why I think the CBOC, as an independent body, should be the ones in control of the selection of those 2 positions. That's my personal opinion. So that's why I decided to compromise with the other members of the committee, and I think this is the best that we can come up with, which is to ensure that we complement the efforts, at least of the CBOC, of the Board of Education, and so that way we can ensure a truly independent hiring of the forensic auditor and attorney. And with that in mind, I'm going to move for the approval of this resolution with the following
Excuse me, I think that you should allow other people to make comments before you make a motion.
Actually, you make comments on a motion.
Yeah, we're good.
That is
I
part of
have
the
a
procedure.
question and a
Okay,
comment.
let's finish your statement.
one of the revisions that I suggest is the incorrect usage of the word proscribe, which is on line 18. Proscribes means to forbid or prohibit. So I'm not sure how that word got in there, but if I put that in there, that's my mistake. That word should be state.
You looking at it connotative or denotative?
Connotative. And line 43 should now reflect the fact that the data review subcommittee is now subject to the Brown Act. So I would suggest that we add the following language to line 43, subject to Brown Act.
That's already been done.
Right, but this is
So if this resolution fails, then the subcommittee ceases to exist.
well, no, it would still go. But this is just a reflection of what we just did.
Why are we avoiding the advice of counsel who's sitting? That's a ground.
What's the question? I I didn't have a question, but what was the question to the council?
You mentioned that it should be covered under the Brown Act.
No, because that was what we just did in the previous action item. We approved we ratified the creation of a data review subcommittee subject to the Brown Act.
Okay.
So all this does is just codifies what we just did.
It's clear now that you mentioned it specifically.
Line 42, Peter, should read, CBOC ratifies the chair's establishment. That's all the changes that need to be made to line 42,
Right.
okay?
Sure.
And cross out ad hoc.
And cross out ad hoc.
Okay, continue.
That's it.
Could I report
And
that?
those are my suggestions. I'll be open to friendly amendments, but, for future comments, but those are my suggestions.
Well, now I'd like to hear from members of the committee with any other changes you
Did he make a motion, Bill?
That was a motion.
have a motion, but we have other comments. I see a hand just on.
I don't disagree with the intent here, but I do have a concern is with the language used. You know, we don't have control over this, the board has control, and yet we are, in this resolution, we are dictating what the board, the elected board should do. You're saying that, you know, that the CBOC will participate in the selection process. Well, we can only participate in it if the board allows us to do that. They said this matter should be an agenda item on the next board meeting. Well, the board sets the agenda with the CBOC. We can suggest it. I said that the CBOC, either as a whole or by designee, participate in the attorney and forensic auditor, blah, blah, blah. Only if the board allows that. We can request it, we can lobby for it, but we cannot dictate to the board what they do on that. And then you go on there, line 59. Again, participate in the attorney and the conferences, only if the board allows it. And then we're dictating that the attorney and the forensic auditor shall deliver these reports directly to the CBOC. We can request it, we can't order it. This is, then line 65, pretty much the same thing. We can request it. We got to remember what we are here for, what we are allowed to do. We are not an elected body. We do not have control over certain things. All we can do is request things of the board. We can lobby the board, get them to try to cooperate with us and partner with us. But we don't have the authority to dictate to them how they conduct this.
Mr. Rosny, other people are talking now.
Through the chair.
That she gave me,
Yes,
Okay, I
yeah, she told me Mr. Rosny. Mr. Rosny, I really appreciate your comments. I think this document, to a certain extent, seems like delusions of grandeur. The CBOC can't tell the board to include them. You're not an elected body. So while I appreciate the CBOC wanting to understand what happened and wanting to use the information to make things better in the district and make sure that people who did, if the things were done wrong, that people are held accountable, the CBOC can't tell the board that they're going to be part of the investigation. And you're even listing things in the investigation like the exit conference. We haven't even defined that yet. My question was, you were saying people on the board were the defendants, and I wondered if you could explain to me who you're referring to.
No,
I did not say that. That's a misrepresentation of fact. I was
I'm
using an
simply
analogy
asking.
that I was trying to provide an analogy just to extend what's the thought inside my head, so that way I can communicate this appearance of impropriety, that a board of education cannot choose its own investigators. And I have to take a step back and disagree with you, Ms. Blanc, because the California Education Code, section 15264C, provides that is the intent of the California legislature that the WCCUSD Citizens Bond Oversight Committee promptly alert the public to any waste or improper expenditures. And then, paragraph D states, unauthorized expenditures of school construction bond revenues are vigorously investigated and prosecuted. So that's within the California Education Code itself. It's true that we can't tell the Board of Education what to do. That is true. But we have to declare our intent as a body through some means. And that's through this resolution, this compromise resolution that the Data Review Subcommittee has come up with. And that is the intent that I want to put forward in front of the CBOC. So I will yield the floor to other CBOC members now, at the pleasure of the chair.
Kelvin,